The simple and yet all difficult question is, how can we unlock Nigeria's economic potential such that the narrative about our dear nation will shift from that of missed opportunities and unrealized potentials represented by an unharnessed bank of natural resources, wide expanse of arable land adorned by the promise of a youthful and dynamic population, to that of a nation of realized promises, a proud and self-sufficient citizenry standing tall amongst the committee of nations. I dare ask, is this possible? And if this holy grail that we have sought for 64 years now has eluded us so far, let me ask again, is this possible? Has it been done before? And how? What would it mean for the average Nigerian if it were to happen? And finally, what would it take to make it happen for you and for me? Let's explore some of these questions together. So first, what we're seeking to do, which is to unlock the economic potential of Nigeria, has it been done before? Nigeria, with a population of over 200 million and abundant natural resources, has been compared to structural peers like Brazil, Indonesia, and Malaysia. These nations share similar demographic profiles, diversified resource endowments, including crude oil, favorable agroclimatic conditions, abundant low-cost labor, strategic geographic locations, and deep water ports. Whilst in the early 1970s, Nigeria's living standards were comparable to these countries, since then a significant divergence in economic performance has occurred, with Nigeria now lagging far behind these erstwhile peers. A closer examination of GDP per capita, economic growth rates, and poverty levels highlights Nigeria's missed potential. Countries like Indonesia have made substantial strides in reducing poverty and unemployment through, remember the question we're asking is, has this been done before? Through industrialization and infrastructure development. In contrast, Nigeria's economic performance continues to lag behind, despite its vast oil wealth and youthful population. While oil exploits dominated merchandise exports in all three countries until the mid-1980s, their participation in oil exports significantly declined by nearly half in Malaysia and Indonesia in the years that followed. In contrast, Nigeria has continued to rely heavily on fuel exports, with our contribution remaining consistently high. Indonesia, for example, with a comparable population size and natural resources, has a GDP per capita of $4,941, more than double that of Nigeria's $1,600. Brazil, with similar agricultural and energy resources, has a GDP per capita of $10,000. This disparity highlights Nigeria's struggle to turn its natural wealth into broad-based economic growth and prosperity. Okay. So Malaysia and Indonesia proactively pursued economic diversification through well-crafted and faithfully implemented industrial policies. In Malaysia, the first industrial master plan in 1986 to 1995 laid the foundation for the development of manufacturing industries and promoted the processing of natural resources. The plan strategically targeted sectors with potential for import substitution, high export value, and higher value-added activities such as petrochemicals, refined petroleum, palm oil, rubber gloves, tires, and prophylactics. This approach helped to reduce the over-dependence on upstream commodities and fostered more balanced economic growth. Now, before I go into how would success look like for Nigeria, I want us to just look at some of the comparative graphs that I have there. So we're looking here. Okay, it's gone away from behind me. I'm very sorry, I'm short-sighted. So in spite of my glasses, I still can't see what I have there, which is why I'm turning around and hoping that, yes, this will come on. So if you look at education and you look at literacy rates, you can see that we lag far behind all these. You look at health and life expectancy, again, we're at 54.6%, whereas Malaysia is at 76. We have seen these statistics over and over again, but I'm going somewhere. And then you look at access to finance, and that's really where our position is so far removed. So 13%, and Malaysia 117%. That means that an innovator, a startup in Malaysia has more money than they actually need. They have access to more money than they actually need. And by the way, this is as a percentage of GDP, 117%, and we're at 13%. And then ICT smartphone penetration. We like to boast about the level of smartphone penetration in Nigeria. Unfortunately, we're still lagging behind our peers. Now, I'm going to the next question that I want us to look at. Is there a Nigerian dream? How would success impact the life of the ordinary Nigerian? So I'm asking you this question. Is there a Nigerian dream? You know, I was in the US earlier this year, and I was actually invited by the American Dream. I don't know why they thought I had an American dream. I'm not American, but I was invited by, there's actually an institute in charge of the American dream. And their job is to study whether the American dream is growing or it's receding, and what exactly they can do to make the American dream a reality for Americans. So the American dream is a real project. And they asked me to give, I gave an interview, and they asked me what my American dream was. And I had to find, but the point I'm making is that this is a country that everybody envies for so many reasons, and yet they are actively committed to making things better for their people. So I want to ask again, is there a Nigerian dream? The Nigerian dream would be the innate belief in the right of every Nigerian to aspire to attain financial success on the assumption of the existence of equal opportunities and meritocracy. If it exists, it would be somewhat like the American dream, a national ethos of the United States that states that every person has the freedom and opportunity to succeed and attain a better life for themselves. Can we say that right now about our nation? The concept of a Nigerian dream is elusive, but if it exists, it is likely tied to economic opportunity, social mobility, and personal achievement, similar again to the American dream, but shaped by Nigeria's unique challenges. You know, when I was growing up in this country, I watched a lot of television, and now we still watch a lot of Nollywood movies. And if I were to craft the Nigerian dream according to Nollywood, and I'm coming back to a point that you made, sir, which is that we have to pay attention to the things that we had not paid attention to before. What is the message that we're passing to the people that are coming before about their role in creating opportunities for us as a country? So back, if I were to describe the Nigerian dream according to Nollywood, it would be pretty girl comes to Lagos, stands at the side of the street, on her way somewhere. She's very poor, she's in raggedy clothes. But then this very rich man pulls to a halt beside her, invites her to come into his car, takes her shopping. That shopping scene is always in every rags to riches story. Am I lying? Takes her to the supermarket, and then she picks things, and she picks things, and she picks this, and she picks that, and he pays for it, and they live happily ever after. Is that the Nigerian dream? So what is the Nigerian dream? Or what should be at the heart of the Nigerian dream? At the heart of this pursuit should be the tireless, relentless effort to overcome barriers and create opportunity where none seemingly exist. Nigerians are constantly innovating and striving to survive in a system that often seems designed to hold them back. The popular culture of multiple side hustles is not just a trend, it is a reflection of how dogged your average Nigerian is in their quest for economic independence and success. The Nigerian dream, therefore, should be about entrepreneurship, creativity, education, and ultimately the creation of a better present than your parents' past, or a better future for your children than your present. Than your past and your present. However, it is often constrained by systemic problems like unemployment, poor infrastructure, and unstable or unfavorable economic policies. A case in point that we're facing right now: high inflation, high interest rates, and domestic currency, all of which are today the reality and perhaps the nightmare of small businesses. In essence, the Nigerian dream could be defined as the pursuit of prosperity, upward mobility, and the ability to succeed regardless of our background. But unlike in many successful economies, achieving this dream in Nigeria often feels like a matter of luck than a result of deliberate planning or policy support. The Nigerian dream envisions a future where each generation surpasses the achievements of the last in terms of income, education, and overall quality of life. However, recent data paints a sobering picture of limited economic mobility in Nigeria. Sadly, the scale of poverty in the country is staggering. The number of Nigerians living below the poverty line has grown from 70 million in 2010 to an estimated 109 million in 2023, placing Nigeria among the nations with the largest poor populations globally. This trend is further reflected in Nigeria's Human Development Index, HDI ranking, where it's placed 161 out of 193 countries in 2022. Many young Nigerians face the same, if not worse, economic challenges as their parents. Unemployment, underemployment, and inadequate access to quality education hinder their progress. These increase the risk, unfortunately, of many youths resorting to crime and many migrating away in search of greener pastures. Harsh and deteriorating macroeconomic conditions further complicate the pursuit of economic mobility for younger Nigerians. For instance, prices of imported used cars, once a symbol of financial progress, have soared beyond the reach of the average youth. So you find Nigerians well into their 30s, approaching their 40s, coming into their 40s, who are graduates and have been working since they graduated, and they still cannot afford to buy a second-hand used car that has probably been used for 20 years in another economy. This example, amongst others, illustrates how economic goals are becoming increasingly unattainable as the goalposts continue to shift. Despite these challenges, I'm coming a little bit to the good news. Despite these challenges, Nigerians remain resilient, excelling in various sectors, from the thriving markets in Lagos, Kano, and Aba, to the unicorn startup communities in Yaba, Ilupeju, and Ikeja, providing cutting-edge fintech solutions to the bustling creative industry in Nollywood, on Instagram and TikTok, and that are making waves globally. Perhaps spurred by these inspiring stories, a growing number of youths have turned to entrepreneurship. So today, 84% of employed Nigerians are self-employed. I think we can clap for ourselves. Thank you. according to the National Bureau of Statistics. I personally admire our millennial and Gen Zs. I admire them so much. They're working so hard. Working so hard to make a future where they cannot take anything for granted again. So are there pathways to realizing the Nigerian dream? What should be done to unlock the economic potential of Nigeria and make the Nigerian dream a reality? It needs deliberate planning and coordinated actions. The success stories of countries like Singapore and South Korea, oh my goodness. Yes, somebody is helping me. Thank you. God bless you. Yeah. The success stories of countries like Nigeria and Singapore and South Korea show that sustainable economic process is not accidental. It is built on strategic policies, investment in education, and economic diversification. Nigeria has the natural resources and human capital to thrive, but our path forward must address the challenge of the big elephant in the room, competitiveness, as a nation in its bid to retain and attract back its best human capital resources. Nations are built by people. Let me say that again. Nations are built by people. So if you lose the best of the best that you have to other economies, who then is going to build the nation? Just like a company vies against domestic and international competitors for the best talent, so must Nigeria strive hard to retain its brilliant and most productive talents, or risk being left with the least creative, least productive, and most criminally minded remnant. I would like to repeat myself there. The same way I run a business, and I know that I am competing with other companies for the best talents, and I know that those who will win in my line of business are those who attract and retain the best people. And today, I now recognize that I'm no longer competing with other Nigerian institutions. I'm now competing with international institutions, because my people get offers from abroad and they get up and they go. My people sometimes would get an offer from abroad, and they will even live in Nigeria and earn dollars. So the same way I, as a business leader and business owner, have to face the reality that I must be competitive. It's the same way that Nigeria now needs to know that it's not everybody that was born in Nigeria or born to Nigerian parents or has a Nigerian passport that will choose to stay in Nigeria or choose to work in Nigeria or choose to retain a Nigerian identity. That choice has to be based on competitiveness.